Hi, I'm Jake. I make Pathfinder videos and videos on how to treat people okay at the gaming table. I'm here today doing an interview with Nate Wright, one of the authors of the Mwangi Expanse, which is why I have him here today primarily because we're going to talk about Anadi. But also, he's done a variety of other things. So, just to briefly touch on it, he has co authored Pathfinder Society Scenario 1016, What the Helms Hide, and Echoes of Desperation, and Starfinder Society Role Playing Guild Scenario 116, Dreaming of the Future. And as I said, Lost Omens Mwangi Expanse. And you can find him on Blue Sky or X, Twitter, at Roskman or roskman.bisky for Blue Sky social. And we're going to talk about some weird, fun stuff today besides the Anadi, but I do want to start with the Anadi. I also want to mention briefly that he has made a whole lot of basically homebrew, but he's a professional writer. So it's usable in your games. It's called Eldritch Excursion. It's an article on the blog nodirectionpodcast.com. So go there and look for the category of articles, Eldritch Excursion. There's some fun stuff there, like the Starfinder Medusa, which is also something else I want to talk about today, and expansions on the Anadi and other fun stuff. I've enjoyed just like reading them, and I've noticed a propensity to make summoner stuff. So can we touch on summoner again for a moment? Is that your favorite class?
That is absolute. My favorite class in Pathfinder, yes.
In
Second
Pathfinder,
favorite overall.
there's a qualifier. What is your primary favorite class?
The Blue Mage from Final Fantasy, but
That is not what
that's.
I expected. Okay.
Well, I love it because the sheer idea that there can be a world-spanning class baked into your mechanics that reward you for every step, gives you all sorts of weird esoteric spells and rewards knowing the game, but you're not really going to see something like that in Pathfinder. Every version I've seen kind of cheats and says, "Oh, you can learn spells that a monster uses." It's like a built-in wizard's book, not like, "Oh, if you defeat a goblin, you learn goblin dance," or, a player-friendly version of the Medusa's stone stare, or
That's
th-
awesome.
that'd be something you'd have to write from scratch, which I'll call it a bucket list project of mine, but yeah.
No, that's interesting. There was something in Deadlands called Counting Coup. When you kill one of the Reckoner's direct servitors, you gain one of their powers.
Oh, nice.
That's a fun idea. I haven't really seen it anywhere else. I didn't realize Final Fantasy had it.
Oh yeah, no. About half the games have the Blue Mage class, and it's really fun. And my favorite thing in most of them, it's just yeah, you'd essentially have to take the bestiary and make a new spell for every one of them, or convert their key abilities into spells using the spell system, and that's a whole different thing.
Dude, that is an interesting challenge though. I think that because I'm a by the seat of my pants writer, I think that I would do it much better during gameplay. Like if I
Hmm.
had a small group or just a group where there weren't other complicated characters and that was a complicated character, I would just work with them on getting additional powers per monster. But it would require a buy-in of trust from the player because, well, you have to trust that the DM isn't going to screw you over.
Yeah, you've learned self-destruct. Great, how's it work? Try it out.
Or what Piers Anthony used to call spot on the wall magic. Yeah, I can
Hmm.
make a spot on the wall. That's a power. What is it working? What is it like working as a freelance artist for Pathfinder or for
You
Paizo?
know, it's pretty fun. I'm on a bit of a dry spell right now, but that's kind of my own fault for not asking around and missing a couple emails. But it's pretty nice. I started off at a convention with Thurston Hillman in the area over in the Twin Cities. And it was pretty nice having him come through. I worked up the courage, asked him if he was looking for freelancers. He put me in touch with some people, and from there, I started to get to know people, got on some projects, and yeah, it's always really nice when I get an email asking if they want me in on something. It was especially nice working on the Anadi.
Is all of that done remotely, or do they like require that you come into an office at some point?
Oh, it's definitely remotely. I live on like the other end of the country from where they work. The benefit of freelancers is you can communicate with them on emails or Discords or whatever medium you prefer. And yeah, just send in works on the check-in dates or when it's due, get some commentary, a little back and forth, it's pretty nice.
That sounds like the most fun office job you can have.
It is pretty fun, especially when you get to bounce around ideas and, tell them, hey, I'm going to try this. Would it work? How should we adjust it?
That's something I'm curious about. There's okay, so there's two different aspects of that I'm curious about. One is how did you learn to balance yourself? Because looking at the Eldritch Excursions, I can't find fault with it. In fact, if anything, some of them are underpowered to me. They're all balanced.
Hmm.
How did you figure that out? Like, did they have a system, or was this just your experience?
Well, thank a lot of it's thanks to Paizo's help. They have guideline documents. They coach you a little bit. They say, all right, here are the guidelines for how we write this, this, and this. Try not to make it too strong. I get a general idea like class feats tend to be stronger than ancestry feats, which tend to be stronger than skill feats. There are some exceptions depending on like, scare to death at legendary intimidation is more important than like the Anadi's ability to make blankets. As cool as that feat is, and I enjoyed writing it.
Yeah, I like that you added more about the Anadi and specifically the weaving on
Mm.
Eldritch Excursions. That's something. Oh, what the hell was the other thing? Oh, why don't Anadi have climb speed at first level?
Game balance. I
I
thought
thought
about it.
so. Arrgh!
It's especially in second ed. If this were first ed, probably could have made a case for it. In second ed, a lot of things that I like to call monster advantages. My little term after looking at stuff like eidolons and why they can be so good. Like here are things that monsters can do. It's just part of the monster. NPC spider, sure they can climb. It's part of the encounter. Now the party, hey, do you have ranged weapons? This is a test to see if you have ranged weapons. And then that one fighter who only equips his greatsword and only uses his greatsword looks at you like, dude, what? And the party looks at him like, dude, what? Why, yes, I am channeling an extremely specific situation that I've been in. Thank you for asking.
No, I've had that situation, and the fighter and barbarian in my case climbed a tree to get to the spiders, and I think maybe no, I don't think he even landed a hit. He was just chasing the spider the whole time.
Actually, to be fair, I'm telling a fake. The real story, the entire party lacked ranged weapons, except for my summoner, because you can cast light on a crossbow bolt and fire it down a tunnel, and that gives you like a signal flare, kind of. It's a fun little trick I learned, so always carry a crossbow. It's relatively cheap.
That's what I tell people to do with their casters as well, but I think they don't because it doesn't feel right. I'm guessing.
It's easier in second ed because cantrips are actually worth casting past level one, and they do actual for real damage. But yeah, back in 1E, that 1d3 acid splash at 30 feet wasn't gonna cut it when you were fighting an elf werebat archer flying from platform to platform, peppering you with arrows.
It sounds like Soul Reaver.
Mm, I do love me some Soul Reaver. Ooh, I should make a Soul Reaver inspired something.
Yes, you should.
I'm gonna keep that in mind. Thank you.
No problem.
I'm actually making I'm gonna steal that. Nice. Because I'm working on a vampire themed class right now, the
Ooh,
Exsanguinator, which is a little edgy, but I'm having fun with it. A damaged over time focused class with a big vampire motif.
awesome. So I'm sorry, you said it's an archetype?
A what?
You said it's going to be an archetype?
Oh no, a full class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, capital C class. One of my latest articles is like a preview of the first 5 levels with a tiny handful of sampler feats to give you an idea of how it works.
Can you tell me the date of that article? Because that seems like how they're organized on the
Oh
blog.
yeah, it's the let's see. Eldritch Excursion. That is February 20th, celebrating the 50th entry of the blog.
February 20th.
It should be the second one in the line chronologically right now.
March. Okay. The titles seem misleading to me because I just see half a century strong, and I think you're just going to be talking about we've been doing this for so long. I didn't even open it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wow, I love that picture.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the nerdy, like scientist who's just experimenting on humans and like whistling while he does it.
Oh yeah. I enjoyed using that one.
This is neat. Hemorrhage. Oh, this looks like fun.
Oh yeah. And the post before it hyping it up was because I just wish there was more vampire content. I wrote a whole subsystem for like sunlight exposure and how like I think it's silly that oh if you catch like a keyhole-sized beam of sunlight, that's the exact same as being naked on an open field at high noon. So, different rules for are you only exposed to a little bit? Are you wearing heavy clothing? Here's a way for a vampire character to absolutely cover up all the way if they want.
Cool. Did you get any inspiration or rule sets from VTM for that? Because they have rules on it.
Yeah, actually, it was a back before I got into Pathfinder, the old group I was with, we played a lot of D&D 3.5 and a lot of Vampire the Requiem, actually. Like a little bit of Masquerade, mostly Requiem. But yeah, the whole idea of vampires, their politicking and the themes. I've got at least one other article deeper in the line that talks about like what it's like to be a vampire and rules for feeding and creating spawn because that was missing from the archetype that's in the game
Dude, this is
officially.
perfect. Yes. Did you watch my video on the vampire archetype?
I probably I don't know if I saw that one specifically. I probably did at one point.
It's been a while, like quite a
That's
while.
probably why. Yeah.
I changed the basic undead benefits and the advanced undead benefits to make more sense to me. Like
Oh,
at first level, you don't have to breathe because you're undead, you're dead.
yeah, the not breathing thing is I think it's one of those things where they don't want an archetype that you could get that's roughly as powerful as the other archetypes for balance purposes. They don't want to negate entire major mechanics, which is why your skeleton can still get a disease and suffer bleed damage. Yeah.
Oh god. Can you talk about your Oozemorph ancestry?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Virtual heritage.
One of the first articles I wrote was something that I wanted for a while because the first edition Oozemorph, the archetype for the shifter, it is an objectively bad pick. It downgrades your character. It locks you out of 80% of the baseline mechanics of the game, and it is my favorite thing in the edition. I love it. It is my beautiful child.
Okay,
Not
why?
literally, I didn't write it, but no, it's so cool because it is the only class option that essentially changes your race. Your default, it's not that you turn into ooze. Your default form is bubbling ooze, and sometimes you can be a person. And all the weird ooze rules. I mean, the Pathfinder 2 version I wrote, it had to be a bit more balanced because the system's less Wild West than First Ed is.
Yeah.
But back in First Ed, it's like, okay, you start with compression, you start with crit immunity in your slime form. You can generate pseudopods that deal one of the three classic damage types. So what I do is I generate a piercing pseudopod and like right on the ground with it. That's how I communicate with
Oh,
people.
that's
But
very weird.
yeah, and it was great. And I was so happy that that shifter option was made legal. I was so worried it wouldn't get into. I play a lot of Pathfinder Society, and sometimes something that's potentially disruptive or a little too weird to like trust with essentially strangers, they might ban it. But no, that got in, and it led to my favorite type of character intro. You get your society tables. They're essentially pickup games unless you're
Yeah.
part of a regular community. And even then, people have new characters. So everyone describes like, oh, gruff dwarf with an axe. I'm a half orc scholar, wizard. Sometimes you get something weird. And then I describe a large, burly, bare-chested man with a handlebar mustache and a bald head, walking in with a backpack and a barrel. And he sets them down. And they're like, oh, so you're playing like a monk or a barbarian? And I look at them and go, hello, I am Sergey. Strange lady has paid me to deliver barrel. I have delivered barrel. Have a nice day. And then he walks out. And then
Yes.
everyone's confused. And I say, there's a note on the barrel. And then I hand them a physical note. And it says, hi, my name's Malsuza. That's me in the barrel. Don't worry about it. You can pour me out when a fight starts, and I'm pretty handy then. Because my reasoning is, if I can, at level 1, you can be a person for 1 hour per day. So you're going to be an ooze, and that's going to attract all the wrong kind of attention. So I pay a porter to haul my character around. And when I got enough points from playing the game, I paid for the porter permanently. So
That makes
Sergey
sense.
became part of the team.
That's
Until then,
interesting.
someone else had to carry the barrel around.
Then you have your non-combat character Sergey and your combat character the Ooze.
Yeah. And, you know, Sergey was essentially a cosmetic. He literally just carries stuff, but it was just my excuse to say, yeah, the barrel's being hauled around. Don't worry about it. And, you know, poke a few air holes in there with compression. I can get out whenever I want.
That's so fun, dude.
Yeah, it's so weird. Part of the reason I love spellcasters and monsters is they change the way you interact with the world. Like the baseline interaction is different. So when I wrote the versatile heritage for Oozemorph, I made its number one rule: your basic form's an ooze, and you can only become people so many times. And you're not cheating with another thing. Hello, first ed Kitsune. You're not using your baseline racial shape change to get out of that, because now your racial shape change is limited per day and shares cooldown with the ooze, with the people form. You are an ooze. You can fight it sometimes. At higher levels, it'd last long enough that it's essentially all day. But you know, you're an ooze. That's part of your character now.
I have the imagination to come up with stuff in general like this, but I do not understand how to create the structure around it to make it function in gameplay in a balanced way. This is fascinating.
This one was actually pretty straightforward. So I just looked at all the abilities the Oozemorph archetype had, and I looked for rough comparisons amongst the various heritage feats and the ancestry feats. You know, it's like, okay, gave it a climb speed feat at 5th level, which is a bit earlier. Most people get it at 9, but you know, it's my blog. I'll do what I want. Ooze empathy, talk to oozes, crit resistance, different kinds of weapons. Basically, all of it's there. The only thing I personally added was, yeah, you can just make your basic ooze form large size, because why not?
It kind of makes sense because that's what oozes are for the most part. They're just
Hmm.
splayed out genetic material, which happens to cover a bigger area than just a 5 foot square.
And the fun thing is, it doesn't specify what ooze, technically. So we all think of some green, black, or purple jelly, but like, there's some weird oozes out there. I think there was one that was like alchemical medical runoff. It's like just organs. It's just flesh and organs. That's the ooze. You could do that. You could basically, it's more like you're just inside out and a larger mass, and that's it.
Sort of like the shadow.
Sometimes you can inside right yourself, but not all the time. If you wanted to play a bit more of a gross out character.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, that's what you do. I have a vampire in my group now, and he was in the Slithering as well. He's just now returning to the Outlaws of Alkenstar AP that I'm running, and I wanted to build like a structure of how a vampire would work in this world because it says that there's like a vampire community in Geb, and how would that work with vampires across the world? And VTM is what came to mind.
Mm.
I'm really excited to read your article on it now to see
Oh
how
yeah,
that can
yeah.
help me roleplay with him.
Yeah, what was it? It was mostly about like the feeding and giving some ideas on how they'd work. Oh, and I wrote another Starfinder one too for like, hey, did you want to artificially become a vampire through biomods? Yeah, that's an option. Plus a fun little short story about a guy being attacked in an alleyway. Set the mood.
The short stories matter a lot, like in the beginning of the VTM books or all any of the World of Darkness books. I
Oh
like
yeah.
16 pages of introduction.
What was it? Did you ever get into Vampire the Requiem?
No, I didn't get to
They
play it.
they did a fun. They probably did it in Masquerade 2, where did they have like books they had books for the specific clans, right? Like
Oh
side
yeah.
books. Yeah, there were these books in Requiem where each clan had a book, and the first 90-80% of the book was just short stories. In fact, each book had a character, a POV character of the clan, and some shadowy figure compelled them through payment, bribery, threatening, hostage, whatever, to specifically interview other members of their clan and take notes. So most of the book is just people in the clan of different perspectives, different styles, different approaches, but they're all having some shared blood and they're all talking about their experience and what they do and who they are. And there's elements of a backstory. There's these two Nosferatus, like one of them's called the War Pig and the other's like the Roach King or something. I forget his name. But they're having like a little underground war because the Nosferatu have this underground kingdom beneath a city that the normal princes don't. Just all that stuff. And it's just all this flavor. And of course, as always, Eldritch Excursion every other Tuesday on the No Direction podcast website is where you can find me and my madman ramblings and my unrequited rivalry with Oros, the god of mutation and evolution. And yeah, feel free to check out my work as it comes out this next Tuesday. Assuming nothing goes wrong, I'll have another article up for you to drag your eyeballs over.
He has a surprising amount of useful stuff on there. And I don't just mean because it's balanced and it functions well. I mean, they're mechanics and topics that people actually care about. So go look at them. They're cool. Yeah, you might have to glance through a few of them before you find just the one you want, but I'm going to go there tonight. It's
Oh
cool.
yeah, and I did hint at a playable ancestry for playing a sentient gear. So if you've ever had the dream of being a waistcoat or a broadsword or a magic wand, well,
Dude, I'm going to use that for my Outlaws of Elkenstar for a magical item they found.
oh nice. Oh, it can be, if anything, if a player character dies, maybe they find some treasure and hey, that sword talks to them. Yeah, give it a look. Mechanic for starting your own home base, playing a sentient gear, being the starship, or a ton of lore that I made up for Medusas in space. Many of them become VTubers.
And the mechanics are useful as well for the Medusas, for playable Medusa characters.
Absolutely. You too can become a Medusa VTuber.
Who wouldn't want snakes growing out of their head? I'd love that.
Hmm.
They need to make that like an actual elective surgery you can get. Like plastic surgery, nah, I'll have scale surgery, thanks.
I mean, that wouldn't be the weirdest thing you can get in actual Starfinder. So really, you just kind of write the rules up for that. No, I just kind of sold myself on another article idea, didn't I?
I meant in
Hmm.
real life, but okay.
Huh. No, I kind of like the mini fro going on. I'm gonna keep that for now, but you know, maybe get a couple snakes, like snake bangs. That'd be
Snakes.
fun.
No, that could work. I've seen a Medusa's snake hair styled that way online. I think there was only one picture, but it was cool looking.
Oh, nice, nice. Just
Anyway, thank you for joining us. We'll get back to you next time. I will put on the in the Discord server and I'll make a blog post stating when the next Nate Wright collab video is going to happen and the topic.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye. 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 Okay, they're gone. So I guess I can just stop the recording.
Cool.
There's buttons.